Okay, I think we're good to go.
Good. All right, I'd like to welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's September 16th, is it 18th? September 18th SBCAG board meeting. For the record, I'm Steve Lavanina, I'm director on the SBCAG board. Madam Clerk, can we please get a roll call?
Director Perotti, absent. Director Mosby?
Here.
Director Lewis? Absent. Director Lee?
Here.
Director Lavanino?
Here?
Director Julian?
Here.
Director Hartman, absent. Director Clark? Absent. Director Capps?
Here.
Director Brown?
Here.
Director Aguilera Hernandez?
Here.
Vice Chair Nelson, absent, and Chair Rouse, absent.
Okay, if you could all stand and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
You wanted to win.
All right, Madam Clerk, now's the time for public comment. Is there anybody that signed up for our public comment this morning for items that are not on today's agenda?
If there are any members of the public who wish to speak on the Zoom webinar, would you please use the raise hand feature and I will call upon you. I do not have any paper requests to speak forms, and there are no attendees on the line who wish to speak at this time.
Thank you.
Okay, and just FYI, in Santa Maria, your mics are on and hot, so don't know if you like them
Good.
that one.
Wait. No, they're
We
good.
like them
yeah.
that way.
Yep, okay. So do reporters. All right, here we go. Next on is the approval of the consent calendar. Are there any announcements for the consent calendar, please?
Yes, there is one announcement on item 4H. There is additional language to be added to the recommended action. For the record, item 4H is Highway 101 Montecito 4D Stantec Contract Amendment Number 8. Recommended action to approve, ratify, and authorize the chair to execute Amendment Number 8 with Stantec to extend their period of performance for work conducted in the Highway 101 Montecito segment for an additional year to June 30th, 2026.
Okay, thank you very much. And if in the motion, we'll include the amendment to that. Are there any directors that would like to pull any items from the consent calendar? Don't see anybody. Is there any public comment on any items on the consent calendar?
If there are any members of the public who wish to speak on the consent calendar on the Zoom webinar, would you please use the raise hand feature and I will call upon you. There are no paper requests to speak forms, and there are no attendees on Zoom who wish to speak.
Okay, I'd take a motion.
I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, and that's with the amendment to H. Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Director Perotti, absent. Director Mosby?
Aye.
Director Lewis? Absent. Director Lee?
Aye.
Director Lavanino?
Aye.
Director Julian?
Aye.
Director Hartman, absent. Director Clark, absent. Director Capps?
Aye.
Director Brown?
Aye.
Director Aguilera Hernandez?
Aye.
Vice Chair Nelson, absent, and Chair Rouse, absent.
Okay, thank you very much. That takes us to 5A. Madam Clerk, can you please read 5A into the record?
US 101 Multimodal Corridor Cycle 4 Award Implementation.
All right, Mr. Luna?
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. Fred Luna, Project Delivery Director for SBCAG. So today we're going to give you an update on the implementation efforts for the projects that were recently funded in June by the California Transportation Commission from Cycle 4, and just upcoming actions that the board may need to be or will need to be taking over the next several months, and then just kind of outline the timeline for implementation on those projects. So just as a reminder, there were 5 projects that were approved in our Cycle 4 package, a total of about $137 million from 2 primary programs. And as you can imagine there are requirements that are needed to fulfill the obligation with this. Initially, we have to enter a baseline agreement with the California Transportation Commission. So we've done that before on previous cycles. That's come to the board for approval, and that will be coming to your board next month. These 5 projects have 3 different implementing agencies. The Highway 101 HOV project is, Caltrans is identified as the implementing agency, so they'll be signing the baseline agreement. And there's 3 in the city of Santa Barbara. So the Cabrillo project, the Santa Barbara East Side project, and the Zero Emission Vehicles project. Those are 3, and where the city's implementing those, and they'll be a signatory to the baseline agreement. And then SBCAG is serving as the implementing agency by proxy to VCTC for the bus purchase on the Coastal Express. So we'll be signing that as well. And this slide is just intended to give you kind of a project-by-project glimpse of the activities that will be occurring over the next 6 months. The yellow dots are kind of more related to project development milestones. The blue dots are like permitting requirements or environmental requirements. And then the orange-red dots are more MOU actions or board actions that would be coming to this board. So starting at the top, we're targeting Highway 101 4E North, still going to construction in spring of next year. So that would require a number of things occurring up to that point in time. Currently, we're looking at one of the final set of plans and doing constructability reviews on that. And then that will lead to an effort where we'll get a public works permit from the city of Santa Barbara to move forward. And then we'll reach, under our construction management general contractor approach, we have to reach agreed price with the pre-construction contractor. So that's scheduled to occur in December. You can see that yellow dot kind of in the middle. Then we would be able to vote the funds in January through a request to the California Transportation Commission and be prepared to start work next spring. Some of the other projects, you can see the schedule there. We have, of the 5 projects, 2 of them are in the first year of the 2-year cycle. That would be the Highway 101 4E North that I just mentioned, and then the Zero Emission Vehicles, which is the 4th one down in green. That project is also in the first year, and it's right now we'll be completing an environmental document by November. There will also be an MOU coming to this board next month that I'm working with the programming division on to bring to the board, and then that will be ready for construction by next fiscal year. The other 3 projects are in the second year, fiscal year 26-27, so they have until June 27 to vote funds, and project development will occur over the next 2 years on those. And then this is just give you a kind of a multiple year outlook of implementation on all the projects, starting at the top. So I mentioned before we're on 4E North, we're completing the pre-construction and design, and that work should commence or continue through early next year. And then we'll be starting the construction phase, which would occur through 2028. So it's about a little less than 3 years of construction work anticipated. Then you can see the Cabrillo project is the next significant project there. That's led by the city of Santa Barbara. That's currently in their design. They continue to be in negotiations with the railroad and collaborating with our project. Over the last couple years, we've really worked closely because those 2 projects are very close to one another and need to be coordinated. And so part of our strategy when we submitted our application for funding was that this project definitely needed to be in the second year because it had to wait for certain developments to occur on the interchange project, the Highway 101 project. So we're going to be building the new bridges on Highway 101 and the new ramps at the Cabrillo interchange. And then when that's done, then the city's railroad project can commence at that time. So that should start in 2027 and continue for probably 2 years right now is the estimated schedule. The rest of the projects are shown there on their timelines. the VCTC buses is a bus purchase, so there's really just a matter of putting orders in and making sure that those buses are ready, and that has to be done by June 2027. The other two projects that are led by the City of Santa Barbara, for instance, the Santa Barbara East Side project is one that they need to do some environmental work and then complete the design. It's a number of intersection improvements and safety improvements along the Lower East Side, Salinas Street, and some local streets in that area. So, the ZEV charging is a first-year delivery. So we've done previous projects with the City of Santa Barbara, so this would just be adding on to that portfolio of zero-emission vehicle, spots on the South Coast. And we just wanted to give you a quick glimpse of our implementation efforts, and happy to answer any questions at this point in time.
Let's start in Santa Maria. Any questions in Santa Maria?
No.
Okay, anybody up here? Director Lee?
Can you talk about the outreach that you plan to do with the community, make sure that we are transparent about the scheduling of construction?
Certainly, yeah, and I appreciate the question, yeah. So we're already starting a lot of the back work on developing the maps and the detour maps. Our strategy in previous cycles that's been successful is really to have clear detours, being transparent with our messaging. We look to have an initial community meeting sometime in December. We're still looking to schedule that. That would really kind of preview, big picture, our plan for construction. There will also be some pre-construction work to remove vegetation and trees near Cabrillo Boulevard. So we obviously want to let people know about that work going on. That's to avoid risks during construction. You could get delayed if you find birds that are nesting in trees or trees that need to be removed and you have traffic control underway, and just for the safety of the traveling public and workers.
Okay.
And then we'll have a number of meetings with different stakeholders like we normally had, first responders. We'll have elected official briefings, and we'll certainly be scheduling that with you. Lauren will be reaching out to your office.
Good. Just a follow-up. So are you reaching out to, say, Westmont, SBCC, schools?
Yes.
To make sure that they
Yes.
know what's happening, right?
Visitor bureaus, businesses, schools, first responders.
Thank you.
Fred, I have a question about the buses. So, it's just a purchase for VCTC? I'm just curious why the timeline's so far out. Why can't they just, because what I'm worried about, or I shouldn't be worried about, or am I worried about, if there's overrun on that purchase of buses, are we then responsible with Measure A, or they just get whatever they're going to get and they're responsible for the buses?
So they were labeled, and Sarkis might know a little bit more about this, but they were identified in the application as zero emission, which is fairly generic. So technology is the choice for Ventura County Transportation Commission. I think they've identified using hydrogen cell buses, and so they're waiting for prototypes and for those types to be, if their backup plan would be an electric vehicle.
Okay. But if they wait and the cost goes up with these buses, are we then on the hook for it, or are they just going to get whatever that check that we give them, the pass-through dollar?
If they don't deliver on the project, I think they can just go back to they can rescope it at the time.
Okay.
But I think what we've talked about is that it was written in such a way that they're allowed to purchase the electric vehicles without a rescoping effort.
All right, so I just want to make sure I have this right so that when we go out and talk to the public about it. So now the 101 big picture is fully funded. It's going to be done in 3 years, at least that's the schedule, at the end of 28. And the last thing is, I just want to get these numbers right about how much money we've leveraged. So how much have we put in of our own skin, and then how much did we leverage from state and feds?
Thank you, Chair Lavanino, directors. One second. So to answer your question, Director, we have leveraged $759 million. And that was based on $343 million that we had with Measure A and other regional funding available to SBCAG.
Awesome. So I think that's something that we really got to continue to hammer home, is that we used $340 million of local dollars and got almost $760 million back. So great job by the staff. Amazing. I mean, for a county this size to pull off a project that big, and I know it took a long time, but that is a milestone. So great. Thank you. Thanks, Fred. Any other questions from anybody? All right. Well, let's see. Was that just a receive and file? Okay, just a receive and file. Okay, let me get on my notes here. You guys have so many good notes that I got to follow it correctly. Okay, any board discussion? We already did that. Presentation only, no action. So, Madam Clerk, can you please read item 5B into the record?
Item 5B, San Ynez Valley Regional Community Connector, recommended actions. 1, receive a presentation on the status of and work plan for advancing the San Ynez Valley Regional Community Connector Trail. 2, approve and authorize the chair to execute a memorandum of understanding with the City of Buellton to define roles and responsibilities for completing work within the City of Buellton associated with the California State Parks Grant for $425,000 and a period of performance beginning with execution of the MOU and extending to June 30th, 2027. 3, approve and authorize the chair to execute an MOU with the San Ynez Band of Chumash Indians to enable SBCAG to complete the work associated with the Chumash fiscal year 2025-26 Caltrans Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant for $16, and a period of performance beginning upon execution of the MOU and extending to June 30th, 2028. 4, approve and authorize the executive director to approve immaterial changes to each MOU.
All right. This is going to be a heck of a presentation after that intro. So, Mr.
Yeah.
Becker.
All right, thank you, Chair and Directors. Mike Becker, staff. And I'm here to give a presentation on the update of the San Ynez Valley River Trail and where we are planning to go with that. So the presentation, I'm going to cover 5 topics. I'm going to talk about the idea of what the trail is, where it goes, and what it serves, how we got to where we are today, and including some new funding that's come available, and talk about where we're going, the next steps, which a lot of those are outlined in the agreements that are attached to the staff report, and then I'll cover our schedule for completing this as well as the expected budget. All right, so the idea of the trail, I'll get into the history in a minute, but just really it's to connect the communities of the San Ynez Valley, from Buellton to Solvang to the village of San Ynez out to the future Camp 4. It's the bulk of the valley's population lives along the 246 corridor, and this is really to provide a resource that connects the communities. And people can use it for transportation to travel between the communities, or along the route is the high school, as well as a variety of commercial establishments, the Chumash Reservation, and so forth. Also, people can use it just for purely recreation. And then finally, the valley has no shortage of tourists, and I would expect that there would be some level of tourism associated with the trail if it comes to fruition. So here's a map, and I want to go segment by segment and talk about these. But starting on the left in the city of Buellton, the city's been advancing this concept for a long time. The city has in its possession easements, owns land, or has agreements to obtain easements. So the alignment within the city of Buellton is fairly well set. It goes from Riverview Park on the west side to Avenue of Flags in the center of Buellton, and runs along the north side of the San Ynez River. And then once you hit Avenue of Flags, there's a couple options, but what we're currently looking at is you cross on the current Avenue of Flags Santa Rosa Road Bridge, which is on the county's long-term list of bridges to be replaced. So when that is replaced, it could better accommodate a trail. The next two are the trickier ones. The county, where it's labeled county private, and Solvang. So the concept is to connect the communities. The exact alignment, we don't know yet, but it's through this process that I'll talk about in a minute that we hope to come to an agreement with those who own the land, as well as the political leaders that represent the unincorporated county, where we can have an alignment that works. We thread the needle between the willing and unwilling landowners and so forth. So it's on there as a line. Through this process, we'll determine actually what the alignment looks like in the future. And then that ties into the city of Solvang. The city of Solvang has a variety of potential ways to get across, and some of it depends on how that trail between Buellton and Solvang connects to Solvang, what the best alignment may be. But again, it's through this process that we hope to engage with the community and the political leaders of the city of Solvang to determine what is the preferred alignment to get across Solvang. Moving east, there's a piece of the trail that already exists along Highway 246, and it runs from roughly Alamo Pintado Road to the high school. It doesn't connect to Refugio Road, and it doesn't connect to Alamo Pintado Road. It's kind of stuck in the middle there. Caltrans has a shop project to replace the Alamo Pintado Bridge on 246 in partnership with the city of Solvang. And when that occurs, which I believe is in a couple years, they intend to extend the trail to Alamo Pintado Road. So it would add that missing 200 or so feet and connect it the whole way to Alamo Pintado Road. And then the balance of it from the high school to the roundabout, the geographic considerations fairly well constrain the alternatives. And you'd basically go along the frontage of Highway 246 on the north side, across the front of the high school, across the front of the YMCA, down to Edison. And then we have a little bit of flexibility beyond that because there's the tribe owns the land, and whether or not we're in the tribe's land or along Caltrans right away, it's still to be determined. And again, it's through this process that we hope to identify exactly what that alignment looks like. So again, this is very conceptual, but the idea is to get across the valley, across the 246 corridor with a trail. These are two photos from the Ventura-Ojai Trail. You can see on the left, this, I think a lot of kind of what got us to today has always been referring back to that Ojai Ventura Trail. You can see on the left photo, you have probably about 8 feet of asphalt and then that split rail fence, and on the other side of it, there's room for equestrians. And then on the photo on the right, that's closer to Ojai. But just to highlight that, this can be an attractive resource. It doesn't have to just be a strip of asphalt. It could be something that the communities are proud of. So how did it get here? There's a variety of planning processes that have taken place that identified this. The county's San Ynez Valley Community Plan calls for expanding trails, and it identified connecting Buellton and Solvang, though the community plan focused on the 246 corridor. And it is important to note that the county's policy in the San Ynez Valley is the trail should be available for hiking, biking, and equestrian use. So to the extent that we can manage to incorporate equestrians, that's the intent. And then in how this first landed on SBCAG's radar back in 2014, when I first started SBCAG, we were developing the Regional Active Transportation Plan. The state had just passed or created the Active Transportation Program, so this was to support that. And through that process, there was several public comments related to a trail across the valley, or specifically connecting Buellton and Solvang. And so that plan was adopted by this board in 2015. And it was included as a study corridor because we didn't know a whole lot about it and we didn't want to step on any toes, but we said, well, this deserves some more attention. Let's keep it on the radar and keep it alive. If you go back to Buellton's general plan, which was adopted in 2005, it had a planned project for a trail along the river. So Buellton, as I mentioned, Buellton's been trying to advance this for quite some time. The county's active transportation plan includes the Buellton to Solvang project, the recreation master plan that's currently being developed by the county, at least in the environmental review. It's including the Buellton to Solvang portion of it. In 2019, SBCAG, at the request of the city of Solvang, in partnership with the valley jurisdictions, created the San Ynez Valley Bicycle Master Plan. And through that process, trail across the valley was the #1 priority project amongst the public. To keep the project alive in 2020, we did the same as River Trail Alignment Study, which was more of an environmental analysis of looking at what are some of the constraints that we're going to run into. And it's turning out that that study is going to prove useful as we go forward. And then the city of Solvang recently adopted an active transportation plan. And within that plan, there were a variety of ways to get across the city identified. It didn't say this is the one, but it said here's a couple options for getting across the city that are included in that plan. There's been a lot of planning that's been going on, and then it turned to trying to seek funding to get the next steps rolling. The tribe, in partnership with the valley jurisdictions, had submitted 2 active transportation program applications, neither of which were successful. And then 2 Caltrans Sustainable Transportation Planning Grants. 1 was successful in this current cycle, which is part of the recommended action. And then also the tribe had applied for a federal grant, active transportation investment or infrastructure investment program, which was successful. However, with the change of administration on the federal level, that grant got put into on hold. The latest that we hear, which is all anecdotal, is we believe that it's going to come to fruition, but we're not there yet. So we'll see what happens with that. And I'll talk about what we'll do with that if we get it. So as I mentioned, there's been a whole lot of planning going on. If you start back when Buellton adopted its general plan in 2005, and the variety of planning efforts that SBCAG and the valley jurisdictions have undertaken have all just kept the ball rolling through planning. And then it turned to seeking funds to try and find ways to continue to pay to advance the project. And we have been successful. A couple years ago, the city of Buellton received earmark, which is being administered by California State Parks for $425,000. That's a state earmark, which is, again, part of the recommended action. And then the Chumash with the valley jurisdictions received a Caltrans grant, and then the Chumash also received a federal grant. So we went from not being able to get any funding to getting a whole lot of funding pretty quick. So where we want to go, right now we're working to get this project off the ground, and that's part of what you're doing today. On the consent calendar, you approved an overall work program amendment, which brought this work into our overall work program. We're having agreements. On today's agenda is an agreement with City of Buellton and an agreement with the tribe. Next month, we expect to have an agreement with the county that will come back before the board. And then possibly in the future, there'll be an agreement with the City of Solvang. And we've been seeking some local contribution funds, which I'll talk about when I get into the budget. But as soon as we're nearly to the point where we can start advertising the work to seek proposals and to get a consultant on board to begin the work. And part of that, with the City of Buellton's funds, the current expiration is June 30th, 2027. So we need to get it moving or get an extension, and we're working on both of those. And then what will come out of this project? So we really want to there's a planning aspect, there's an environmental aspect, there's a design aspect. And through that planning process, we really want to determine what is that preferred alignment. What's the alignment that's supported by the community? What's the alignment that's supported by the elected officials that govern the valley? So that we have an agreed upon alignment, which makes it then much easier to continue to advance this project toward construction. We will complete environmental reviews for the project. That is still to be determined what level of environmental review. But for the City of Buellton, the idea is to have project level environmental review complete so that they're construction ready. That's related to the funding for the City of Buellton. Outside of it, we're still in discussions with all the valley jurisdictions to try and figure out whether we do a programmatic environmental review or how we accomplish that, because it's when we're trying to get across the valley with multiple jurisdictions, we also have multiple jurisdictions. So we need to find a path that works for everybody. So we're still trying to work on that. And then for the project design, within the City of Buellton, we can get through final design. because that's associated with their grant, which allows it, which it's in the scope of work with what they received in the earmark. Outside of Buellton, the design aspect is being funded by the Caltrans grant, which only allows us to go to 30%. So we would go 100% within the city of Buellton, they'll be construction ready. Outside, 30%, which would require some additional design work in the future. And following this project, would be able to seek funding for construction. Through this, would have a really good idea of what the implementation cost would be, what any right-of-way cost would be, and so forth. So we'll be able to seek funding confidently, knowing that what we need to get a project built, whether it's segmented or one large project. And then we also need to complete the 100% design outside of Buellton, and then finally, you construct the trail. So here's the schedule and budget. Like I mentioned, the City of Buellton's funds only currently expire at the end of the 26-27 fiscal year, so June 30th, 2027. So we really need to get that project moving. The balance of the funds go one additional year. So the City of Buellton's grant was $425,000. The Chumash grant was $383,016. And we're seeking contributions that we've been working with on the staff level from the City of Solvang, $30,000, which Director Brown, I will be part of a council meeting coming up, working with the Public Works Director. And we're seeking $376,000, which was set aside for this in the past through the 3rd District Office. And that's what will be associated with the agreement that will likely come to this board next month. And at the bottom there, you can see that $1.4 million. So that's the tribe's federal grant award. And if that does come to fruition, that would enable us to go through 100% design for the entire corridor. So that's the difference, whether that comes to fruition or not. So that's what I have. Here's what we're asking of you. You just received this presentation. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, we're looking to approve those 2 agreements, City of Buellton, which enables us to bring on the State Parks grant to complete the work on behalf of the city. The agreement with the tribe, which enables us to take on their Caltrans grant award to complete the work on their behalf, and then authorizing Margie to approve any immaterial amendments to those agreements.
Very good. So I'm going to look for questions. Anybody in Santa Maria have questions on this item?
I've
Director
got
Mosby?
a question.
Yeah.
It's what level of environmental review did you have to do before even applying for the grants?
Director Mosby, currently there's no level of environmental review that had to be completed before applying for the grants. So none has been done to this point.
So I know the county has very restrictive about introducing people and pets into environmentally sensitive habitat. And is there an opportunity for this to happen? Namely, are you going to be, with these trails, are they going through agricultural land?
That's a good question, Director Mosby. Really, the only part that has a potential to, though I don't believe any is in ag production, is between Buellton and Solvang. And it's all disturbed land. On the south side of the river, you have, there's the Bazzi family trust owns a ranch. Next to Granite Construction with their quarrying and asphalt plant owns a piece. And then a gentleman, Glenn Hartman, owns a large part of the south side of the river. And I believe none of those are in ag production, and the whole corridor there is currently disturbed. And it looks like at the existing Arizona crossing, which is also the driveway to the properties on the south side, you transition to the north side, and there's no ag production on the north side of the river between Buellton and Solvang there.
And it doesn't have to currently be in ag production. It can just be, like I said, they had a Superior Court ruling stating as such. But another question, you gave some nice photographs. I think you should come to Lompoc and take some photographs and what these bike trails and such have done to the riverbed. And, you know, the precautions that you probably want to look into about introducing people into the area that are going to establish camps along the river or anywhere. The city of Lompoc spent a couple of years back $800,000 cleaning up camps that primarily existed in the river due to these trails, opening up areas that people normally weren't been there. And I think the county's $500,000 or $600,000 they've already spent in the last several months cleaning up kind of the same areas again. And a lot of that was due to the opening up with the trail. But I get it. I understand people want to get from one place to the other, but remember there are also other repercussions that could come by opening up these habitats that are currently right now a little more difficult to get to. But when you put a trail in a corridor right there, there's other things that can happen. If you want to come to Lompoc, I'll take you to some areas and show you some nice establishments along the bike trail.
Yeah, thank you, Director Mosby. I know that your concerns were shared by some of the residents of the city of Solvang in the past. And through this process, we will include in the work, identify ways to potentially mitigate any negative externalities of the project.
Anybody here? Director Brown.
With regards to the Solvang contributions and why we're kind of confused, if you will, we haven't determined an access point yet, or a connector point, of which, depending upon where that is, it might change the level of ability for the trail itself. With our terrain, it may be inclines and things of that nature for bikes that are prohibitive at certain levels. And so until we have kind of a better idea of where you want to connect, we're not even quite sure if it's going to be the south side or the north side of the river.
Yeah, Director Brown, I 100% agree. I think the only thing that's 100% known is the two ends, and everything in between it is to be determined. And really, we want this to be an open and public and engaging process with you and your council, as well as the residents of the city of Solvang, to find something that works for everybody. And what that ends up being is what we'll work to advance. We're not going to presuppose that there's any particular alignment already. That we want this process to play out and run its course. And that way, there's an informed decision that will eventually be made by the Solvang City Council to pick a preferred alignment.
I guess one of our concerns too would be that trail be available as a evacuation route of some sort. So it's built to a standard that could allow for an evacuation.
Okay.
Is there any public comment on this matter?
There was no written public comment received. If there are any members of the public on the Zoom webinar who wish to speak, would you please use the raise hand feature and I will call upon you. There are no paper request to speak forms and there are no attendees on Zoom who wish to speak.
Okay. I just had one question, and that was, and I doubt this will happen, but if there's any money left over from the planning grants, are they able to be moved into the construction side?
Director Levin, that's a good question. With the Caltrans grant, no. With the City of Buellton's grant, I believe that there won't be anything left, especially because we're going through 100% design. Okay. With the contributions, perhaps, and I know that working with the 3rd District's office, that there was $800,000 that was set aside in the past, and we've requested less than half of it, so that still remains. That could potentially support future construction.
Okay, awesome. All right then, I'll entertain a motion for staff recommend, or whatever motion anybody would like to make. What's that? Yeah, it's listed. So it's items 1, 2, 3, and 4.
2 agreements.
I would move to approve
Okay,
both of the, do I just say I move to approve the recommended action?
that's fine. That'll work.
Okay, I move to approve the recommended
Awesome.
actions.
We've got a motion. We got a second. Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Director Perotti, absent. Director Mosby?
Aye.
Director Lewis?
Aye.
Director Lee?
Aye.
Director Lavanino?
Aye.
Director Julian?
Aye.
Director Hartman absent, Director Clark absent, Director Capps,
Aye.
Director Brown,
Aye.
Director Aguilera Hernandez,
Aye.
Vice Chair Nelson absent, and Chair Rouse absent.
All right. Excellent. Okay, that takes us now to our Executive Director's Report. Director Kern?
Great, thank you so much, appreciate that. We are pleased to introduce Grace Iwashada. She's our new accounting technician. She brings nearly 5 years of experience in local government finance, beginning as treasury clerk for the city of Lompoc and advancing to accounting technician with the city of Santa Barbara. Her background in municipal accounting and treasury services will support SBCAG's financial operations and long-term planning. She will also serve as the clerk for our SBCAG Technical Advisory Committee, so she's excited about that. She's excited to continue developing our expertise in finance and looks forward to contributing to SBCAG's mission of improving our daily lives of the residents across Santa Barbara County. I also want to congratulate Haley DePass, our accounting technician, on 5 years with the agency. Haley is most proud of her leadership in updating the procurement manual. It's a document that streamlines our process and ensures our policies are reflected in our most current local, state, and federal requirements. She collaborated closely with legal counsel and created a document that keeps SBCAG compliant while maintaining competitiveness in our procurement processes. During a time at SBCAG, Haley is also building her expertise in budgeting, contracting, and record keeping, and she describes the workplace as one that fosters curiosity, empathy, and integrity. Qualities, she says, helps keep SBCAG serve the public and with accountability and innovation. Another celebration we're having this month is Andrea Ophelia is celebrating his 20-year anniversary with the agency. As principal transportation planner, Andrew has guided the regional transportation plan and led major initiatives such as updating the airport land use policies. Andrew emphasized the value of early communication and collaboration in solving complex challenges in our region. In the beginning of his career, the board of directors was reviewing the 101 in Motion plan and seeing that to its final conclusion with the funding that we just received from the California Transportation Commission just weeks ago was personally gratifying to him. And he appreciates being part of SBCAG in its role in defining our county's transportation future. Another celebration we're doing this month is Sarkis. Sarkis is also reaching his 20-year milestone, which will be highlighted in my SBCAG update that's coming to you tomorrow morning, so I don't want to ruin it for you. So we're going to tease that, and we're going to celebrate him at your next meeting. So thank you for that. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much. Congratulations to all the staff. That now takes us to the Caltrans District Director Report, but it's going to be given to us from Branch Chief Veronica Lozama from, I believe, on Zoom.
Yes. Good morning, Chair Lavanino and
Morning.
directors. Veronica Lozama, Branch Chief for Regional Planning and Local Development Review on behalf of Caltrans District Director Scott Eads. I have a couple of items to report on this morning. First is that Caltrans is conducting a survey for the Santa Maria Downtown Multimodal Assessment, which will identify important complete street projects that can later compete for competitive funding. We have been working closely with the City of Santa Maria as well as Smart Transit and SBCAG staff on this effort, and I'm happy to share the survey following the board meeting with the directors. Second, I'm excited to announce that the Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant Program call for applications was announced last week. The program is intended to provide funding for planning level studies across the state, both on and off the state highway system. We are scheduled to have a district workshop on October 1st at 11 a.m. Applications for the program are due on November 21st. And Caltrans staff has already been meeting with the various cities and counties to provide some direct assistance as the locals initiate their application process. And that concludes my report. I'm happy to take any questions that the board may have.
Okay. Well, Veronica, I just want to say I really appreciated the email that I think we all received that kind of went through all of our requests from the last week, and they were answered in depth. So there might still be questions on those, but I really appreciated that update. Is there any questions from Santa Maria for Caltrans?
Just a comment. This is Director Julian. I appreciate Caltrans staff for meeting with the City of Guadalupe, the developer Pasadena, regarding the second exit in Guadalupe. There's only one exit going into, right now, about 360 homes. There's another 350 so homes and only one exit. We couldn't go over the Santa Maria Valley, the Southern Pacific Railroad, so we were working with Caltrans to actually open up the second, it's called Flower Street exit. So thanks to staff for going over and meeting with us to make sure we get the second exit open. So thank you.
If we all thought we had it bad, Guadalupe always has it worse. And I also want to thank Caltrans for all their work with the city of Santa Maria. We do appreciate that.
Okay. Anybody from Santa Barbara? Okay. Thank you very much, Veronica. We appreciate the update. That now takes us to committee meeting updates, but nobody's here. All of our directors for CalVans, CalCog, and LoSan are all absent today, so unless staff has any updates from those, we will pass on that. We'll take us to 1-minute reports. Is anybody, let's start in Santa Maria. Anybody with a 1-minute report they'd like to talk about?
No.
Nobody here? Anybody here? Director Brown?
Yeah, I want to announce that we will have Danish Days this weekend, and I invite all of us to partake and get a little Danish crazy and have able skiers and aquavie. So thank you.
Oh, that sounds good.
What was the second one? Able skier. Aquavie. Is that a drink? Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Watch out. Watch that 246 enforcement. Anybody else? All right. All good? Okay. I will adjourn this meeting. Our next meeting will be October 16th in Santa Maria.